Yo, live on location.
Hold
See,
on,
this
hold
is
on.
part of the back and
Hold on.
forth.
I
He do
got
this every time to make me mess up and start over.
No,
But
I
it's
see.
cool.
I see.
But anyway, live on
Ho,
location.
ho, ho, ho.
So now we got Rex get into it. This is ridiculous.
Yes,
This is
yes,
ridiculous.
yes.
Live on location. And we got my main man, Blocker Charge, the Kentucky legend in the building. One of the best dudes you gonna meet. Sit down, chill out, pull up with us, and holler at us with my man Rex Chapman. Thanks for coming through, bro.
People don't understand, though, that this is the best part about being in a locker room. It's like traveling the globe with a bunch of fifth graders with money.
Brought to you by AT&T 5G.
First question we ask everybody who come on the show is, who's the first person to bust your ass when you got to the league?
Wow.
Right to it.
Yeah, Joe Dumars.
Joe
right,
D.
right from the get-go. I remember we had to play them. I think it was opening night in their building, opening night of the Palace.
Ooh.
And they just won it. So they got their rings that night too. And we were an expansion team playing our first game. And he wore me out. I remember I got back cut so much. I had no idea. Picks, I didn't know, got in the league, didn't know what the offensive sets were, where anything was coming from. I felt like a JV player.
He was one of those real heady, smart, cerebral players, not real talkative, quiet, but he was deadly.
Busting your ass and nice about it. Offensive foul you and then help you up and then bust your ass on the other end. And it was maddening playing, but I learned a lot playing against him. And he helped me as I went on in my career, because we were no threat to the Pistons at that point. And I was young. I was the youngest player in the league, in fact.
Wow.
For 1 year, my rookie year. Kareem was the oldest.
Okay.
Crazy. My dad played against Kareem back in the day, way back.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so Joe Dumars, yeah.
Apollo High School, Kentucky.
Taking it back.
That's right. Apollo.
How was Apollo High School for you?
Man, Apollo High School was great. My dad coached at Apollo before I got into high school. He coached there when I was a kid. And then we put out another basketball player. You guys might not even know him. He played at Virginia. His name is Jeff Jones, and he was Ralph Sampson's point guard for all those years at Virginia. So I grew up watching Jeff play, from the time I was little. And he was a 6'5" point guard. And so I kind of gave me the backing to know that, look, I know somebody who's done it. Because when you come from a little place like Owensboro, I mean little, 60, 65,000 people, 4 high schools, seeing somebody from where you've grown up go off and play college, because really that's all I was trying to do was get a scholarship. We didn't have pro basketball in Kentucky. I never saw an NBA game until I played in one. Wow. And so just Apollo was great. I was little. I was little as a freshman in high school. I was like 5'7", and over that summer, I grew, maybe 6 inches. And
in one summer?
In one summer, like 3 months, Q. And my back was all messed up. My knees were messed up. Just an awkward kid. But it started coming together slowly after that. Pretty quickly after that. Once I got my body together, and I just got lucky. I could run and jump, and that's it. And competitive, really competitive. My dad played and coached, and I knew what a pussy looked like to him.
Right.
And I was never allowed to I guess I could have played however I wanted, but I didn't want to disappoint him. So I was going to be tough. And I learned at a very young age, you can fight anybody for 3 seconds before the referees break you up.
Yeah.
There you go.
Unless Tyson. I don't want to fight
Right.
Mike Tyson, but other than that, yeah, I'm gonna stand in there. And you guys know the second you back down from anybody, especially in this league,
They own
it's
you.
a wrap. It's a wrap. You
Yeah.
can't get that back. You can't get it back.
They own you.
Fact.
They own.
You gotta either come out and just do something to them to
That's
redeem
right.
yourself. You gotta do
No,
something.
I swear, I learned this from Reggie Miller. I've never told Reg this. I remember coming in the league, and people are going at me. I'm a lottery pick, a white kid from Kentucky. People are gonna go at me, which was fine. I didn't mind it. It taught me a lot. And shit, you're gonna get that if you can play. And so I can remember early on just being really disheartened in the moment, like when a guy would score on me, like dejected, looking over at the bench, wondering if somebody's coming in, that kind of stuff. And I was playing Reggie one time, and early on, probably rookie year, and I made a good move, came off, put it on the ground, jumped up, shot it over him, went in, and I remember going, oh, okay. And he was already back down, running down the other end, like it meant nothing to him. And whether it did or not, and we all know it did, nobody wants to get scored on. It was like, all right, that's okay. I'll let him have that one. That's kind of the outward appearance I got from Reggie on that, to where, it's like, we say it all the time, act like you've been there before. You're going to get scored on. You're going to get scored on. Don't give don't give the other man, any sort of belief that he's it to you.
Yeah. Right? It's one stop. If you're a defender, it's all about one stop. You can have 40 on me, but if I get that one stop at the end of the game,
That's
won.
right. That's right. And normally I got to have more offensive reps than I do defense to stay on the floor.
And at Apollo, when did you know you was the best player in the state?
Man, I think probably in my junior year of high school, because we played there was a tournament in Kentucky called the King of the Bluegrass, and at the time, the year before we played in it, Dunbar played there. Muggsy and David Wingate and Reggie Miller, Reggie Lewis, and them. So we got out of state New York teams to come to Kentucky, and we play in tournaments. But in the state, the competition wasn't great unless it was, maybe in Louisville or Lexington, the bigger cities in the state, where there's more, urban population. But in Owensboro now, we're real close to Evansville, Indiana, and trying to tell you guys that the guys that I grew up playing AAU ball with, they went to the other high school, and all black sports team high school. Right. And mine, where I lived, we were almost all white. But those dudes who play, we were third in the nation, like when we were 15 in an AAU tournament. Okay. So we had played, these guys could play, and they really made me better. They made me better. And then, but so playing those guys, and then also at the time in Louisville, there was a guy named Tony Kimbrough and Keith Williams. They played on the same team. They both went to U of L. They were a grade ahead of me, and we played them in the King of the Bluegrass, and I busted their ass. And at that point, because Tony was 6'7", 6'8", wing player, and I couldn't wait to play him. It was before the internet. You're hearing about guys around the state you don't even know. You don't know if they can play or not. And those guys could play, and they were legitimate, but I just remember finding out after that you couldn't be player of the year in the state if you was a junior. And I was like, that's terrible. So I felt like I got ripped off for about a year, but it was at that point that I kind of, and it gives you confidence, right?
Like Kentucky University, you chose there. Like I was saying, like, could there have been any other college, or you wasn't leaving the state? No,
I grew up a Louisville fan,
I was
And
about to say no, could it have been
yeah,
Louisville? That
Louisville.
bluegrass state is split.
Yeah, man. Not really though. I thought it was too. It's predominantly Kentucky, but in Louisville and in pockets, it's Louisville, but it's mostly UK. No, I didn't like Kentucky at all growing up. I didn't like the thought of them. I just didn't like the style of play. Closer to me was Louisville, and I love me some Darrell Griffith. And that whole era, Rodney McCray, Scooter McCray, and all that. Yeah. And look, and when I started liking Louisville, I'd have gone to play D2 ball somewhere. Well, they started recruiting me early, like when I was a sophomore. They'd come to every game. Somebody would be at every game.
Yeah.
And so I had going into my junior year, I had really verbally committed to Denny. And Kentucky was way late, which they could kind of afford to be. They got McDonald's All-Americans every year, even back at that point. So, but I wasn't even thinking about Kentucky. And all of a sudden, at the end of our junior year, Kentucky played on TV in the tournament, and they got beat. And I was home by myself. The phone rang, and at that time it was a landline world, and I wasn't going to answer it unless I knew who. I didn't want to get stuck on the phone with a coach that I wasn't interested in going to their school. But the phone rang, and I said hello, thinking it was one of my boys, and I was going to clown him over Kentucky losing. And it was the AD at Kentucky saying, "Hey," and he's from where I'm from, Owensboro, Kentucky. His name's Cliff Hagan. He said, "Hey, Rex, this is Mr. Hagan." I said, "Oh, hello." He said, "Listen, Joe B. Hall is going to resign here in just a few minutes." It was right after they lost Kentucky. And he said, "I want to know if you'll just come for a visit. We're going to hire Lute Olson or Eddie Sutton." And I wanted to tell him no, and that I was going to Louisville, and I was 16 or 17, and I didn't have the courage to tell him that. And so I said, "Okay." Man, hung up, and my dad and mom got home later that night, and I was just a wreck. Like, I don't know what to do. He said, "Listen, here's what you're going to do. You're going to call Denny Crum first thing in the morning. He'll be in the office in about 4 hours, and you're going to call him and tell him. You're going to call and talk to him and tell him." And
that's tough right there.
So I called Denny. He answered. I started telling him the story, and I said, and they asked me if I'd come for a visit, and he cut me off and said, "Rex, you need to do that. You need to do that for you." Dude, you talk about wanting to jump through the phone and hug this man.
Right.
And so I told him, "Okay, but don't worry." So I went to Kentucky and visited, and then I went to Louisville and visited. Purvis and Kenny Payne, those guys were in school there. They were a year ahead of me. Had great visits. However, at the time, all the things that shouldn't have mattered did, like Rupp Arena and Wildcat Lodge, all, to a 17-year-old. Yeah. And after going to both places, one at the time, the facilities, everything, one was like a JV program and one felt like a varsity program.
You heard.
And that's what I did. That's where I went. And really that's why, for the most part.
So it's a better program.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I gotta tell you.
I'll tell you this though, real quick, Q. Denny Crum's one of my favorite people. We played them just a few months after that in Louisville, right at Christmas time. I was like my 5th game ever, and I got like 26, and we beat them by 35 in their place. I felt great. I felt terrible all at the same time.
Right.
I really did. And then get this, Denny was coaching the USA team the next summer, picked me. I started and played the whole thing for him. He's one of my favorite people. That's awesome. A classy dude right there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Not holding a grudge over that, and that's real solid.
Yeah,
and then, but this is what I was gonna say. You talk about Rupp and Wildcat Lodge, because I visited. They was one of my 5 visitors when I came out of school.
Too.
Did you?
And
I thought maybe y'all did. How was it?
Listen, I had Hirishimu Evans was my host, and then Nas was there too. You know, he's Chicago. Nazir Muhammad was
Big Nas. So yeah, I know
it was like both of them, and I'm hanging, and I was like, bro, when they brought me into Wildcat Lodge, and then I was like, wait a minute. This is just only for y'all? Like, he like, yeah, it ain't nothing but us up in here. And then when I went to the practice facility, I'm like, bro, they got Gatorade slushy machines and stuff swirling around like whirlpools. I was looking like, this where y'all just hang out at? Like, I was like, this is crazy to me. Like, they had that was and then Tubby was the coach, and he had a great culture and everything there. It was real family style. So, like, UK had a real solid chance, but it just boiled down for me to Kansas and DePaul.
Think about this. At Wildcat Lodge, my freshman year, we had big oversized, like 8-foot beds, big screen TVs. Every room had a bathroom, and we had a 24-hour cook.
That's crazy.
You'd come in.
That's why they inevitably banned it and changed and made y'all change the rules once they really found out about it.
That's right. Going into my sophomore year, they said, They locked up all the bathrooms in the rooms, and we ended up getting in there, of course. But they took away a bunch of the, stuff that they said, hey, look, if a regular student, doesn't have access to it, y'all can't have it, which is absolutely true.
Wow. That's
now you at Kentucky, and they changing the name to Rexington instead of Lexington. Like you doing your thing in Kentucky. Like, how was that? How was like the college experience when you start kind of making a name for yourself and you with a powerhouse school?
Big man on campus.
Yeah, really confusing because like you guys, we don't grow up thinking about doing interviews, and we just we're trying to make it. We're just trying to hoop. And so, you've gone through high school, you guys did it, it's flattering at first and all of that stuff, and it's confusing. Let's not get it twisted, it is confusing. And so when I got to campus, the other thing that was really, and it was humbling too, my dad coached and played, and he coached at our local D2 school in Owensboro. They had a great program, Kentucky Westland. He had always prepared me for how hard things were going to be. And that no matter how good I was in high school, he used to tell me, you couldn't start for me over at Kentucky Westland. Right. And I wasn't sure if I could or couldn't. He said I couldn't, so maybe I couldn't. So I was humble in that on the floor. The other thing that was really good, it was really good for me was, I came in and played with a guy named Ed Davender, another guy named James Blackman, whose son played at IU recently, Winston Bennett. These guys are McDonald's All-Americans who were juniors and seniors, and they could play. And I weighed 165 pounds. They had me lifting the bar at first, how back.
Yeah, that's you and D Miles in the same boat.
Q ain't never been down that road.
D Miles in the same boat as you.
But
I know he was.
I done been down that road where they ain't put a weight on there, and I just lift the bar.
I know, man. Right?
D Miles.
Same. And so really my only saving grace was that year, all the conditioning and everything going in killed me. It killed me. The only saving grace was I knew how to play basketball. And once we started playing, I was able to just, I remember them stopping practice one time because I made a ball fake post pass. And they went, see how he did that? And I'm thinking, I just passed the ball to the fucking post. What are you talking about? But then you realize everybody can't do that. So anyway, the confusing part about it was, looking back, I probably was the best player at the time. Even though I was a freshman and we had really good, all conference sort of players on the team. I didn't look at it that way. Yeah. They beat me up every fucking day. I mean, they did. Every day in practice, they beat not being, they great relationships with my teammates. I mean, love them to death. But they, they were trying to make it too. Yeah. And they made me better. So that part about actual basketball and the lifting and the conditioning and all that stuff, great. I couldn't go anywhere though. Like, if everybody wanted to go to a bar late at night or whatever after a game, I didn't even drink. I didn't drink at all. I didn't have a sip till I was like 22, 2 years in the league. So I didn't do that. But I like being with my boys who are all, fucked up and stupid. And and the girls were there. So every time I wanted to go with them, they were all underage too. We'd get there and the bar owner or the bouncer would be like, Rex, we can't let you in here because if we do, people are going to know, they're going to come shut us down. And so I was never allowed to do any. I just couldn't. Maybe some after hours place, but in Lexington, there's only like one of them. So that part about it, that was really weird, being on campus too. I could be walking with a girl on campus and other girls would come up and people and want to, autographs on a campus, stuff like that.
Right.
The restaurants and stuff.
You got bigger than life.
It wasn't, that part about it wasn't fun for me at all. Of course, the notoriety and all that, when it's good, it's good. And when it works for you, it's good. But you don't feel like dealing with that all the time.
Go nowhere, do nothing.
You can't. And you know what happened though is, looking back too, I started sleeping a lot, and I was of course, looking back again, for sure going through some depression and whatnot, because everything, I always felt guilty too, because from the outside looking in, people were like, oh man, he's got to be great to be him, and all of that stuff. And it was. But I felt bad. I was like, man, why? Other than going to class and, playing ball, practice and games, I found myself, just kind of feeling bad. Like, I got the world by the tail, but why do I feel sad? Like, why do I feel down?
A lot of people don't know, like, that'd be pressure. Like, it's pressure for me to perform every night. Like, if I have a bad game, if I have a bad game, like, nobody's gonna beat me up worse than I'm gonna beat myself up. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we all did. I lived and died by the box score every day. So, the main thing was winning, and then you look and see what you did, and you see what you did, how you did. And if I saw 2 for 13 on there, I wasn't gonna sleep that much that night. I couldn't wait to play the next game.
And I can't imagine how it was for, like, because I think about it for me, like, my 2 years at DePaul, I was the big man on campus, woo, but like, DePaul is like a kind of transit school. Like, half of the school is in the city, then we got a campus in Lincoln Park. That's where all of us stay as athletes, but it's in Chicago, so it's like, it's not off somewhere like you in Lexington, Kentucky, where Kentucky is everything. And it's like they calling it Rexington. So I mean, I could just imagine.
Let's say what it is, and I'm white. I mean that's I mean, look.
That's not. I told you, Rex, keep it funky now.
Yeah, I mean, I knew, and I've said this before. I knew, and all my teammates knew. My cheers were louder, and and there's something that really just, it bothered me. And my teammates knew it bothered me, but also I got it. I mean, I got it. I know how we do now, just over, a walk on a check-in. And it's just weird. It's weird. So that part of it, I try not to think about too much. And then, you guys have, you played on teams with guys that they got what they got because times are weird, and as much as we think that we're advancing, but things are still weird, right?
Yeah, they definitely are. Are. There's some weird situations going on, and there's a lot of popularity contests out here.
Yeah, but, for the most part, I still, it was the best decision I could have made coming here to UK. They really have. They've been great to me. Maybe, and wasn't always up.
Yeah.
They've been good to me, and they've helped me, you know, from the time I was little, you know, 17, 18. They helped raise me then, and they're still helping raise me. So I'm very grateful to the university.
Straight up.
Yeah.
What made you decide to, you know, after all this success at Kentucky, what made you decide to come out?
We were going on probation.
Saw that curveball coming, huh?
Man, woo. So yeah, we were gonna be good too. I don't know if y'all know this. My sophomore year, I still feel like we should have won it. We were top 5 team all year long. Me and my backcourt mate, Ed Davender, we were considered the best backcourt in the country. We had a squad, and we got upset by Villanova in the Sweet 16. And I had never really thought about coming out, but I'd played on Team USA the summer before. And so and all those guys, Danny Manning and David Robinson, and all those guys were coming out. And so I knew I know I can play with these guys. But I never really thought about it. That year, committed to us was Sean Kemp. And I took Sean on, I took Sean on his visit here, and he was coming, and he had signed. But and also Chris Mills, you know Chris Mills?
Yeah.
Okay, Chris was going to be here. Guy named Eric Manuel, who you might not know, who could really play. He was here as a freshman when I was a sophomore. So we had a squad. We were going to have a squad, but at the time, even having Sean Kemp coming in, I was going to be a sophomore. We didn't have any upperclassmen, none, who had played at all. All of those guys were now done. And it wasn't like you could just come in like Chris and those guys in Michigan with a bunch of freshmen and win college basketball games. It was unlikely.
Because you got them 2, 3 year, 4 year teams.
That's
like
right.
Back then, like focused in college for a couple of years.
Right. You know, had it been today, maybe I'd have thought about staying. The other part about that was Chris Mills. They said an envelope full of cash went to Chris Mills. It popped open. It was a big investigation. So now that happened during my sophomore year.
Yeah.
So the writing was on the wall. We were going to go on probation. The only question was whether it was going to be the next year, which would have been my junior year, or my senior year. I wasn't going to stay 2 years.
Couldn't gamble that.
I couldn't gamble that. And really, I probably couldn't gamble it even for another year. I think it was maybe the only year they've had a losing record in the last 50 years. You know, it was going to be tough to be there and be double and triple team, you know, the whole year. So I wasn't ready. I was ready physically. I had grown and put on a little weight. Physically, I had no problem making that transition. But socially, mentally, I went to a team. I had guys on my team in Charlotte who were married, kids, and I had no idea what I was doing.
They were expansion team at that time, right?
It was the first year. They picked. I was the first player picked for the expansion Charlotte Hornets, 1988. And they had only picked one other. There was only one other guy on the team. No, 2 other guys on the team, because they had 2 rounds of expansion draft, which came before the college draft. And Charlotte, they had Dale Curry and Muggsy Bogues, who are my best friends to this day, both of them. Stephen was born my rookie year. We lived one apartment across from one another.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And Dale and Sonia and Muggs and those guys, they really helped raise me. I mean, because, for instance, Sonia would come over to my apartment, ask me if I need something. She looked in one day and she saw I had like 70 packages of underwear. I didn't even know how to do my laundry. I was just going to buy new underwear.
I said 70.
and they drafted me 8.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah,
That's them showing love.
The building of that team with like I say, with you and Muggsy and Dale Curry, then you had Larry Johnson come in. And
yeah, we had Larry came in, and I was traded maybe halfway through Larry's first year. We were building. The thing with the expansion team at that time was you couldn't get any bigs unless you drafted a big, and then you're going to have to wait for him to develop. The bigs were not given up in the expansion draft. That's why guys like Muggsy and Dell were available, because they gave up. Teams were giving up backup guards, they felt like, and so we couldn't compete. We could Kelly Tripucka. We had all guards. The year after me, they drafted they had drafted J.R. Reed, and J.R. and I were the same.
I remember J.R. Reed.
Yeah, J.R. and I were the same McDonald's team. Me, J.R., Derek Coleman, Terry Mills, that Ramil Robinson. Had a pretty good, yeah. But after me, they drafted JR the next year, and then drafted Kendall Gill, and me and Kendall, we were all the same high school class, the three of us, but we were staggered in years.
Yeah.
So then we drafted Larry, and I was traded, Christmas time of that year, but then they got Alonzo, and so then and by that time, you got some guys there. Larry, of course, but you got some guys who can play at that point.
Your game had a swag to it. Like, who instilled the game? Like, who you watched?
Daryl Griffith.
Coming up, okay. That's everybody's coming up. Because, like, your game,
I wanted to be just like
white guy, and a little swag, a little style. That's why you in the dunk contest.
What I did, and I was a coach's son too, and you know how they portray white coaches' sons. You know how they do. Everybody's Bobby Hurley. Everybody's Wojo. They just. I think I was determined to not be portrayed as that part of it. Kyle Macy was at UK when I was little, and I don't know if you guys remember Kyle, but Kyle was that guy too. His dad was a coach. He wiped his socks. Yeah, I love Kyle Macy. Couldn't jump this high. Played in the NBA, but he was a traditional white guy. Right. I didn't want to be looked at that way, and probably, and definitely growing up watching Daryl play. And David Thompson, my other.
The man, that was the man.
And when I went to Charlotte, my rookie year, David had just retired, and he used to come down once a week and bust my fucking ass. He was working in community relations, but then his knee would swell up the next day, and he couldn't even hardly walk around. So
that's how I am.
Yeah, right.
I got 50 right now, but then I'm gonna be out for about 2 months. Knee gonna be swole. I gotta get that swelling out.
Hey, let me ask you this. So, with you speaking on how you didn't want to be, the traditional white guy and stuff like that, what was your feelings and thoughts when you got a chance to look at Tyler Herro up when he walked into Kentucky and he had because he got all the sauce. Yeah. He is personified, not your traditional, coach's son and all of that.
I knew. I'm glad you asked that question. I knew it was going to be hard on him. I knew it was going to be hard on him being here. He was going to see a lot of stuff. I kind of knew how things were at Kentucky. I grew up in the state, even though I didn't really follow UK as closely as I did Louisville. I knew how people looked at Kentucky basketball players. Mm. And he could play. He's a white kid who can play. He was going to be popular. He was going to be popular. And so I knew some of that was going to be difficult for him, because I think he's also he's like a year younger than I would have been at the same age. Mm. I probably could have been in a grade ahead. So he's young. But when he came here, I thought a couple things stood out. I'm like 6'3" or 4, but I'm 6'7" wingspan. He's like 6'5", but 6'5". Right, and so you know how we all look. If he measured 6'7" or 6'8", he'd have been a top 5 pick. That's not even debatable, and should have been anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, but what I found interesting, because he committed to Wisconsin, and when he got here, I do interviews with the kids. I try to sit down and talk to them. I also try to let them know, hey, this is going to be hard, and if you need anything, I'm right down the road. So you know, whoever it is. But Tyler, I asked him. I said, so you were going to go to Wisconsin. What made you decommit and sign here? And he said exactly this: I'm trying to get to the league, man.
Okay, he a hooper. Yeah.
Thank you. That's what
He's
I wanted.
A hooper.
I mean, you know, really, I don't know if I'd have said that in the 80s, that wouldn't have been popular to say.
Right.
Right. But that he said it to me, we don't even know each other. It let me know that he wasn't fazed by what can be the enormity of the Kentucky basketball program. The other thing I noticed right away with him was, like, he would be out on the floor with his teammates beforehand, dancing.
Yeah.
And he knows he's put in the work. Basketball court is his safe haven. He's comfortable there. He can show who he is as a person and all of that. He's better than I thought he was going to be. He's bigger than I am. I think he's going to have a better, longer career. I know he was hurt this year, but also he's still growing, man. He really is. He's going to be a good.
Kid is nice. Kid can play. I was very impressed by him. And then while we were talking, you said that it made me just think of him.
Yeah.
He went to Kentucky. He got a lot of style and charisma, and he walking like he talking. You see him out there hooping, and he ain't backing down. So I respect it. And then the fact that, like we talked about, he's doing it and he's learning in that right organization. I feel like I agree with you, because he has a step up on most people. When you get drafted and you start off there, like, everything else is going to be easy after this. If he doesn't stay in Miami forever, wherever else he goes, it won't be any harder. It may be as hard, but it won't be any harder than what he's doing today.
I'm with you 100%. And the fact that he's gone down there, and look, Jimmy's not easy to play with, be on a team with, and he loves Tyler. He earned Jimmy respect. But I told him going into the season last year, I said, hey, man, listen, Jimmy's not easy. Don't you ever back down from him, though. Not ever. Yeah. And look, he went in there and he gained everybody's respect. He works his ass. That's the other part. He works his ass off. I mean, same way with Bam Adebayo. Love those two guys. And they're Miami Heat type of guys, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. They fit the DNA totally.
Right.
When I hear UD gave Bam the seal of approval. When you have Udonis Haslem, who embodies everything that whole program means, and when you have him say that he looks at him as the same way, he feels the same way about him, that he can mean what UD meant to the team. When UD say that about a kid, stop the presses, because he don't give compliments. You know what I'm saying? That ain't what UD do. And when he say something like that turn, I already like Bam, but that took it for me, just not even doing anything else, just knowing that UD said that took it to a whole nother level for me. Yeah,
you get somebody co-sign it like UD, and it's good. Right.
How was it for you with your experience going to the dunk contest early on like that? And what was that like for you? Like, did you feel like Woody Harrelson and White Men Can't Jump?
You know, I really didn't. Probably should have. But
because you was bouncy in the league, though. That's why you didn't.
yeah.
It wasn't no secret.
Right. I guess. But my rookie year, again, we played 50 games by All-Star break, and the league was, really, really wanted me to, and the Hornets wanted me to be in the dunk contest. I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm going home. I'm going to Kentucky for a few days. And I didn't do it. I didn't do it my first year. The next year, they virtually made me do it. And so it was in Miami, and I did it. And it was great. Dominique won. He had been in it with Michael before, and it was he was going to win. But I think that year, because Sean was in it too, Kemp.
Oh, yeah, that was
Sean was a rookie.
Crazy.
Yeah, he was a rookie. So we had some good dunkers. Billy Thompson, I think, was in it. A guy named you remember Terrence Stansberry?
Yeah.
Did the 360 one-handed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in it that year, and then I did it the next year because the game was in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And then I think I should have won it. Sean should have won it. They gave it to D Brown with the old pump him up, do this thing. I loved it. I loved D. Every time I see him, I'd say, "Hey man, how's my trophy, man?"
Those are like classic memories for me, like 12, 13 years old. Like that's when we used to be sitting down at the house on the floor watching the All-Star games, man. Those is for real classic memory. I can remember all of that. That was crazy.
Yeah. I used to always do the flip behind your back and the layup.
But it's an easy dunk. You jump that way, right? You jump that way.
I did it during the game through the lane, just flipped it behind and dunked.
See,
legendary.
I'm proud of that. I came up with that, so I had flip dunk. Actually, truth be told, I saw a guy kind of try to do it before, and I went, no. You know who that guy was?
Who?
Danny Ferry.
That's funny.
Yeah, he threw it up like over his same shoulder, and it went in the. I was like, but if you do it over here, okay.
Right.
Hey, so you go to Washington. Like, how was your experience in Washington? I think didn't y'all draft C Webb around that time?
Yeah, I ended up playing with some really good players, Scott Skiles and Calvert Chaney.
I hated Calvert Chaney in college.
At Indiana. Yeah.
I was a Fab Five guy. I hated Calvert. Calvert used to kill
us. I know. I basically don't like anybody from Indiana. But Calvert C-Note. Love that dude. But then we got, we had Googs, Tom Gugliotta.
Tom Gugliotta.
Googs could play, man. But then we traded Googs. We traded Googs for C Webb. Yeah, C Webb wanted out of Golden State. He and Don Nelson didn't like each other, and so we traded. And then we drafted the next year Jawan.
I remember.
But again, we had me, Scott, Jawan, Chris, Harvey Grant. So at Purvis, we had
Harvey Grant was on that squad.
Yeah. I think Harvey, one of those years, averaged 20 a game. Harvey had,
y'all had what's the big boy? George Musan.
George
Musan.
Tell you what, man, he couldn't run very well, but we didn't have to double Shaq when we had George. George was a big fucking man.
He was in front of that goal.
he tiptoed a dunk. And loved to play basketball. Loved to play. Like he'd be at practice 2 hours early, just out there dribbling and shit. He loved it. But again, all those names that I mentioned, we were all 5 years in the league and under, except for Skiles. But all of us, we were young. We were just too young. I mean, pretty good young team, but we were playing against the Bulls and the Pistons and the Knicks.
When you got to the Heat, that's when stuff started getting real with Pat Riley, and it's a whole nother NBA now. You're not on like a lower level team where you're not really playing games that too much matter. And now you in the Knick Heat rival and like you in the mix.
Yeah, and really and truly, I went and I've been in the league I think 6 or 7 years by the time I was traded. I was traded to Miami. And it was Pat's first year. So, and I thought, and it was last year of my deal. So I knew what camp was going to be like. I had really gotten in shape. I was, it wasn't going to be a matter of me going down there and not being good enough to play for Pat Riley. I was really motivated by that also because I knew what he was coming from New York. And I knew what he was going to ask. I didn't exactly know, but I was preparing for it. And I went down there and I realized so much during that year. The main thing I realized was that I had been a pro for 6 or 7 years. I had been making money, but I wasn't a professional yet.
Yeah.
And that year taught me what being a professional was. And it also, made me sad that I'd been in the league 6 or 7 years and I'd just kind of been floating through on my talent. Lollygagging around, playing grab ass. But it taught me a lot. And I got there and I had to have Achilles surgery right away. So I missed like the first month of the season. And then I came back and I was motivated and had a really, I was playing some of my best basketball by the end of that season. But then they were going to try to, they wanted to try to sign Jawan and Alonzo to $100 million deals.
That was when,
So both of those guys, but get this, both of those guys are represented by my guy, David Falk. We're all represented by the same person, and I'm the one that got fucked in the whole situation.
Somebody got to get fucked.
They wanted me to come back, and I said, look, I'll do whatever you want. Don't just, pay me what you need to pay me. Don't make me come back on a 1-year deal. That's what they asked. I said, cut me, release me, trade me, whatever. And so what ended up happening was they did sign Alonzo and Jawan. But then the league stepped in and said, nope. They sent Jawan back to Washington.
Yeah.
And so then they unrenounced me and Walt Williams. They had waived us to
the Wizard.
Yep, the Wizard. I love that dude.
Walt was nice.
Hilarious. He was not a Miami Heat kind of guy, though. He was not.
He's too cool for that shit.
Yeah. Walt, the Wizard wasn't taking a charge on anybody. So they unrenounced us, and then they gave me another bullshit offer, and I said no. So then I signed with Phoenix as a free agent. But yeah, that year was great because it was my first time even playing in the playoffs. We went 41-41 in Miami, and we played Michael and them in the first round, and they beat us. It wasn't even fair how bad.
Beat that ass.
5-game series, thank God. Another one.
So you get to Phoenix and you got Jason Kidd, you got a young Mike Finley, Fan Dog OG.
Finn, love me some Mike Finley. We had Wesley
rookie
Person.
Steve Nash.
And Danny Ainge was coaching.
Danny Ainge is your coach.
We started that season 0-13. And 0-13. I had come to camp late. Cotton Fitzsimmons was coaching the team. KJ was hurt. Jason wasn't there yet. Steve was a little fat, pudgy rookie sitting on the bench. So we were terrible. But then we had Sam Cassell, Robert Ory. They made a couple trades and ended up traded Michael Finley to Dallas and got Jason. And so around Christmas or so, I think we got Jason. And we were off to the races, man. That dude.
He changed the pace.
He changed everything. One of the guys, Q, you're 6'5". Jason's 6'4", 6'3".
Yeah.
It's hard. It really is, especially if you're not a scorer, to dominate an NBA basketball game. If you're small, if you're 6'4" and under. I mean, it really is. I mean, you got to be really, really Russell Westbrook. But man, Jason controlled the game, and he didn't even have to score.
Yeah.
He'd go into that just crazy mode where, you fall down, he's closing out on your man, he's getting the loose ball in the paint, he's tracked down the loose ball in the corner,
grabbing the rebound.
Yeah, and he was great. He was great and fast, so fast, faster with the ball than maybe without it. And all I had to do was just run with him. Right. I ran with him, man. He was just gorgeous to play with. And we had good bigs, Danny Manning, Mark Bryant. We had a nice squad. I think we won.
He was fast when we got in the league. So I can imagine what he was 4 years before that.
I know, man. He'll get going at that breakneck speed, and you had to allow him 3 or 4 just terribly funny turnovers every game. Just throw one to 13 feet over the backboard just because he was going so fast. But the one thing I love about Jason was he got with us, and he was young, and it was in his head that he couldn't shoot. and people backed off of him. And especially we play the Mavericks, and Don Nelson, who had traded him, he didn't want Jason to look good. He would like put a person in the paint so Jay was constantly staring down shots, and we used to have to get, me and Danny Manning and KJ, Mark Bryant, all of us, we'd get on it and like, hey man, you got to shoot the fucking basketball. If not, I'm going to have 2 guys in my lap all night coming off these pin downs. He's just going to sit in my lap. So shoot the fucking ball. We knew he could shoot it, but he had no confidence. And so what I like that we were able to kind of, we were sort of that first, group of people for Jason to be like, hey man, you can shoot it, that's not your thing yet. And then now look, he's like
all-time
all-time mate.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Was you there when Robert Horry threw the towel in Danny Ainge's face?
Yeah, I was there. I'm trying to think of what the circumstances were, but Robert didn't like Danny for whatever reason already. And
really?
Yeah. And we were in Boston, and I was in the game. And somebody put in, Danny put somebody in for Robert, and like threw Robert the towel on his way, onto the court. Like, here you go, dude. Not knowing Robert was pissed or whatever. And right then in that moment, he just turned and flung that thing right into Danny's face. And we all were like, what the fuck did you just do? and so I got to give it up. I got to give it up to Jerry Colangelo, though, Q, because the owner of the Suns, because we never saw Robert again. He went straight to Los Angeles for Cedric Ceballos. And Ced was a huge help to us. Could score without ever running a play for him.
Yeah, that is crazy. I do remember that trade. So they came right after that, huh?
He got him right out. Like
I like Ced was nice.
Jerry Colangelo. That was that Jerry Colangelo came in like the Chicago Italian mafia.
Right.
Like, hold on. Like, what happened? Like. You know what I'm saying? Just nod and point, right. Then it's done. You're like, whoa, that happened quickly.
Yeah.
Out of them cities you went to, what was your favorite city to play in?
Miami.
Hey ho. Hey, that's one thing I want to ask you.
Phoenix. I love Phoenix too. Yeah.
I love Phoenix too.
People sleep. D Miles got hooked on Phoenix that one time when he came to visit me out there.
Q. Think about it, and you were there when I was there. If you play in Phoenix, when Phoenix is good,
it's crazy.
It's top 3 or 4.
You like you said, the year my first year when you were assistant GM, I tell everybody that year was the one example from that team. From that point on, every team I went to, I would tell people like, bro, if we all hoop.
Yep.
Everybody gonna be good. Like that was the first time where I was on the team. I was like,
right.
Everybody was getting free cars, free something, free this.
It's a big city, but it's a small city in some respects, and they just love it. They get attached. Every player
love the Suns, bro. I'm talking about top to bottom, bro. You had everybody like doing appearances, doing something, showing up in the community. Like it was. I had never been on a team where when we landed in the airport, the fans was outside the gate with signs, everything going bananas, bro. I had never seen that. I was like, bro, like, I had spent my first 4 years in LA, and we hadn't so you're coming from anything.
There where, man, I can feel you.
It was a complete, like yo, my mind is blown. Like, not only to, play with Steve and
you got
Chris
paid
and
right
everybody.
Away. Yeah.
It was. Great. Hey, so listen, speaking of that, do you remember the day when me and Steve signed our contracts?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So do you remember the night how
more money? We had to get you some more money. Yeah.
Steve gave me the more money. Do you remember? I tell people all the time, I wish I remembered the figure because it was crazy the way how the events transpired, bro. And it was like, at that point, I didn't know Steve Nash. I had just played against him, knew him as a peer. That was it right there. From day one, that gesture was like, all right, so I'll run through a wall for Steve Nash right now.
That's
Better
right.
not nobody come over here and say nothing. My agent, Jeff, you know Jeff Wexler, he would stay on me because, like, when he found out what happened, because it was like, you remember, y'all was talking back and forth, and Jeff was adamant, like, no, nah. He was like, and when Steve found out what was going on, he cut straight to the chase. He ain't called no agent or nothing. He was like, man, listen, just take it off, man, and do this, and then me and Q go into the bar to have some drinks. And I was like, looked at him like, yo. Yeah. And then I was sitting there like, I had to text Jeff and tell him what was going on. Jeff was like,
he did what?
I've never heard anything like that in my life. He was like, you better be sure you take care of him. He would tell me that. He would just like incrementally, like throughout the year, he was like, hey, yeah, like you make sure you remind Steve that you appreciate what happened. Like, I'm like,
man, he knows it. He knows it. He's one of my best friends still. But what happened was we had done their deals, but they had mistallied the cap number. Yeah. And so what ended up happening was we had to go back and start Steve off at a different number, a lower number ultimately in his first year. But basically what he did, I'm going to make this up, but he took like $1 million haircut. So just so Q could get all of his paper.
Exactly.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
It was amazing, bro. Yeah. I had never seen something like that. Like, and you wasn't my partner, you wasn't my homeboy. We really what's up on the court when we played each other. There was nothing more than that. But like from that point on, like when we left, we went back to the Ritz over there by the Houston and stuff. Went over there, chilled at the bar, had a good time, and then it was like literally it was on from there. Like Steve could do no wrong in my, not like he did anyway. He was already, he perfect. But
great teammate. The best teammate. You can drink with him, you can hang, you can laugh. But also Q, that's leadership. That's leadership. That's it's what the great quarterbacks do. They take care of their guys. That. Especially if you're going to be considered. It took me a long time to realize I was not a leader. If you're going to let me fuck around in practice, I'm going to fuck around in practice. I had to learn to, be better than that. But it's guys like Steve that always he was that way. He was just a leader. He was, when we got together, I was probably 30 or 28. He was probably 21. And he already was way more mature and wise than I was.
One of the things that I like to see on the internet is block and charge.
Block or charge?
What made you start the block or charge phenomenon?
Yeah, really, it just happened, and it was nothing I thought about at all. About I don't know, a year or two ago, I was getting really, really frustrated and upset with the political climate in this country. And I wanted off of social media completely. I just wanted off of it. It was driving me insane. And one day, really and truly, I saw a video on the internet of a school of dolphins swimming in the shore and a guy on a paddleboard going out in the ocean. And one of the dolphins jumped up, hit him in the chest. And I said out loud, oh, that's a fucking charge. And, knocked the guy over and all that. So
I know the video.
Yeah, I just tweeted it out. People thought it was funny. And of course, when you send that out, you're only trying to reach people who know basketball. I mean, nobody else knows what the fuck that means. Sports people, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
And then, from there, I started doing it every other day or whatever it was. And it really, because, you guys, for what you do right now, whether it's Instagram or Twitter, you got to kind of have a social media presence at this point for people to hire you to do things and all that. So it really just worked out because I wanted off to begin with. And then this is just, it's
took the concentration to something else. It's something else.
Yeah, exactly.
You still be on the internet, but you just don't have to.
That's right. I can stay away as much as I can, as much as my.
So what was your reaction when you found out? Okay, these people are coming to me and want to do a TV show about my something that I just, you know, like you said, it just started out how you just explained, and it was just something that was fun, and like now it's a real deal. It's an entity. I can remember when I text
Yeah.
you like, dude,
I
like this
know.
block of charge thing is crazy. This is
It's
out of
crazy,
control.
man.
And then you was like, I know, it's just like, I don't know. It was just crazy.
It's still how I feel. You know, the cool part about it, maybe one of the coolest parts about it for me is that I do it with a buddy of mine who we went to literal kindergarten together. We went to
Oh,
kindergarten
that's super
together,
awesome, bro.
grade school, high school. He went off and went to a school down in Florida called Rollins. You guys are Orlando
Yeah.
people. You know
Yeah, I
what
know what Rollins is. That's out
Yeah,
here.
he went to Rollins and then came back. He was an attorney. Uh, we just, I do it with him. It's 30 minutes, you know, like Thursday nights on Adult Swim, on the streaming and the apps, all of that stuff. But we just sit there like we're in fifth grade, you know, looking at these stupid videos, people getting jacked up and laughing. You know, it's just like
Having a good time.
being in grade school again. So that part of it is great. I, it still does kind of, it blows me away that, you know, lets me know people want content because it ain't the best content in the world.
But no, the thing is, you doing a service to society though. Like you seen something, you just took it and you making people laugh. It's funny videos every time you see it. That's the overwhelming thing. I know that if I see a block of I'm about to crack up. It's gonna be some level of funny. Some are funnier than others, but it's always a level of funny. And I feel like that's just you know, shining a light, trying to make people smile. So that's why when I hit you, I was like, man, this is crazy. This is like, I was loving that it was getting attraction and getting all of the retweets and stuff. Cause that was how I first saw it. I was like, what is this? I was like, man, this is getting crazy.
I appreciate it, Q. You know, the one of the main unintended consequences of that I like of this whole thing is that I set up this Twitter handle probably 10 years ago. The reason I wore number 3, first, it was one of the smallest uniforms that was available when I was
right.
We had 00 and 3 and maybe 5.
You know, the big numbers is for the big boys.
That's right. That's right. But I also knew at that moment that there was this dude in Minneapolis who could really play music, and it was Prince. And I was in high school, and I saw a picture of Prince and his basketball team.
Wow.
And number 3. So I stuck with it. I kept with it. My point being is that my avatar on Twitter is of Prince. And so I forget about that. But what I know is every time I tweet, it just gives him a little bit of life back into people's consciousness for that split second. So that part about it really makes me feel good. I love that little dude.
Let me tell you something. My sister might jump through the screen and try and hug. She is the biggest Prince fan. Like literally, she has jean outfits with them airbrush stuff with them painted on her shirt. She is the biggest Prince fan ever. So to hear that you are, I never knew that, and I don't think anybody else probably knows that about you. That is crazy right there to know that you were at number 3 because of Prince, and that's heavy. That's dope, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we got to meet him one time. We got to meet him after he came to a Timberwolves game with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and me and Kenny Walker after the game. I remember going up to him.
Kenny Walker.
Yeah, my guy, Kenny Skywalker, and we were both playing Bullets at the time, and. Went up. And what blew me away is he knew us. You know, he knew us. We just played a ball game, and he was talking basketball. I've never, you know, I've been around some famous people. Y'all been around famous people. I've never been around anybody that I was, aside from Muhammad Ali, that I was that sort of just in awe. Yeah, I don't even remember what he said. Really, it's just
I was there. Yeah. Hey, so tell me about your Rex Chapman Foundation and how you got all of that going and what you're trying to be as far as an impact with that.
Yeah, you know, I went through when I retired from playing in 2000. I had 7 surgeries my last 3 years of playing, and so A doctor gave me, I had just in a routine, well, it was emergency appendicitis, but they took me to the hospital. When I got out, doctor gave me a prescription for something new called OxyContin. And I took it, and for real, and again, I wasn't a drinking guy, I didn't smoke, I wasn't a party guy. I'd go out and have a beer from time to time, but so I was 32. They gave me this medication, and within 2 days, I knew I was in love. I knew I was in love with it. I'd always had some social anxiety, talking to people I didn't know, depression, stuff like that. And that drug, man, it took away all of that. Made me feel like I was nicer to other people. It made me feel like I was a better dad and a better husband. And it's just hard because it's hard to explain. It's just kind of like, it's sort of a euphoric feeling in your head where all of the good thoughts and all the funny things, they hang around, and all the bad ones, they're just in one ear and out the other. And it's sort of, I've always said, it's kind of like that it'll be all right drug, because that's what you think the whole time. But my life was getting shittier and shittier. I was taking more and more of it. I was making bad decisions. Danny Ainge came to me about a year and a half later and said, "Man, you messed up. You got to go away and get some help." So I went again, very humbling experience. I went to rehab a year and a half after, playing and, be All-American in college and NBA player, and never been in trouble, not a day in my life. So I went, at that point, I was taking about 40 Vicodin a day and about 10 OxyContin a day, and just taking them and chewing them up and eating them, not even water, just trying to get them into my system faster. So I got out of there, and then, but really and truly, I never went back on OxyContin, but I was on pain medication up until like 2014, and went back into rehab. I was able to, I guess, take it seriously at that point, and haven't had any pain medication in 5 or 6 years now. When I got out, I definitely didn't set out for this to be my fucking story.
Right.
Right. I remember them coming to me in rehab saying, "You're going to help a lot of people." And me saying, "Fuck you. This isn't my fucking story." I don't
Right.
Yeah. Well, guess what? It's my fucking story.
And nah, it's an
It
example.
is. Yeah. So I just, over the last couple of years, me and my buddy who I do the show with, we started this foundation, and really it's just to help educate people. I'll go around and I go and speak some, but it's to help educate people, and then, get people into rehab or treatment of some kind that need, 12 steps is not for everybody. It's really not for me. There's all different kinds of ways to try to get clean. And the other thing that I think, to try to impress upon people, look, yeah, and you guys from Chicago, and I know both of y'all stories with friends and family. Drug addicts get a bit of a bad rap, in that people think that that all of these people are people just out there trying to get high, seeking to get high, and nobody sets out to be an addict. Nobody. And it doesn't matter how the fuck you got there. It doesn't matter whether, it was you were experimenting around, or if it was a surgery or whatever. It doesn't matter how you got there. It's about how you're going to get out. And that's what it is how are you going to get out of it? And I'm trying to tell you guys, as athletes, we think we can do everything on our own. I could quit every day. I just could not start back up in the morning, So I think part of that is just trying to educate people and let them know, look, this life is hard, man. It's hard for everybody. We all have our shit. We all have our shit. I don't care what you say. You got your stuff going on. Everybody
Absolutely.
does. And I think, trying to let people know that, hey, it's okay. It's okay to fall down. It's just about, you're not defined by your worst moment. You can't be.
Yeah,
right.
Man, I definitely salute you on that, man.
Thank you.
I had 5 surgeries in 10 years.
Damn.
The year you had 10?
I had 7 my last 3 years, so I probably had 10 over my career, but I had them very late in the game.
Yeah.
But so that's really all it is. And you know what's good has come out of it in the last few months with all this coronavirus stuff. I partnered my foundation with another nonprofit, and we've raised a couple $100,000 for COVID relief. Just through the silly
That's
Twitter
awesome,
account,
man. That's
just
awesome.
through the Twitter account, just people that, you know, follow the account, and we've given to different hot spots in the country, New York, New Jersey, PPE, money for PPE, food banks, first responders. So that's been really cool.
Who is your 5 all-time best Kentucky players? The top 5 all-time best Kentucky players.
Jamal Mashburn's number 1 to me.
Monster Mash used to go to work on my ass.
Monster Mash is number 1 in my opinion. Kenny Walker, and then I got to throw AD on there, Anthony Davis. Even though you know he wasn't like he scored 2 points or something in the championship game. He was a shot blocker. He wasn't what he is now. Yeah. But I go Anthony Davis. Plus they won it all when he was here. Dan Issel. You guys might not know Dan.
I know Dan.
6'11", could score, shoot it. And then I have a tough time narrowing 2 point guards down. I'll throw myself in there, but as a 2. But point guards, I got a tie, and it's Rajon Rondo and John Wall. And it's hard for me to separate those 2. Rajon's won a title. They're both freaky good.
Yeah,
I would love to have played with. Wouldn't you love to play with both those guys?
Most definitely.
Yeah. So that's my list. That's my list.
During your career, you matched up a lot against Mike. They just came out with The Last Dance. Like, you know, you was playing against Mike them years, and you know you don't know the details of how they was kind of explaining it during The Last Dance, but just to hear what was going on with them teams that they was winning the championship. What you thought about the documentary?
I loved it. You know, I knew most of it. Again, David Falk was Michael's agent, is my agent. Michael called me, would have been my junior year in high school, to go to Carolina. Dean had asked him, and I visited Carolina. I grew up loving Carolina. So I visited Carolina, and but Michael called, and then, you know, I ended up going with David Falk, and then me and Michael ended up, you know, first few years, his family lived in Charlotte. They were at all of our games, his dad, his mom, his brothers and sisters, his brother and sister. And so we were friendly. We played golf and all that, bowling, cards, those first few years. And so his hands are so fucking big, guys. I can't even impress upon you. You guys played against guys. You know how Kawhi holds that ball right now. It's different. You know how Nene holds the ball. You know, it's just, hey, it's a different game. It's a different game. If 9 of us are going for a loose ball off the rim toward the corner, we're all going for it with 2 hands like this.
Right.
You can go for it when it's going away from you. You can go and pivot all at the same time and suck it back and go the other way.
Yeah.
It's a whole different game. And, you know, we talk about the little push off that he gave Brian Russell. Let me just tell you, that a hand that does that is like a vice grip. He's got you. You know how we all grab and pull, and you're grabbing everybody's wrists. Well, and you can kind of get away from most people. When Michael would grab you, because it was like his hand would wrap around twice on your arm.
Right.
You know, I told a story the other day. Would have been my first or second year in the league. We were playing Chicago, and me and Michael and Fred Whitfield, guy who runs the Hornets.
Yeah, I know Fred.
Fred and a couple other friends of ours, we went bowling one night before a game. And Michael's up in Chicago. Michael's up, he's bowling, but he's telling us some kind of story. And, you know, every now and then the pins got to be reset. They get stuck, you know, and you got to roll another ball down the lane just to reset the pins. Michael's telling us this story. We give him a heads up that, hey, reset the pins. He reached over, grabbed a 17-pound bowling ball without using the holes and grabbed it and flung that motherfucker back down the lane. And reset the pins. And I looked at everybody like, and they looked at me like, you didn't know he could do that? I said, no, I didn't fucking know he could do that. and he just kept telling me, 17-pound bowling ball without the holes. It's a different game. And that he ended up becoming a really good shooter is even crazier to me with those big ass hands like that. But he was playing a different game. And then look, I don't know if you guys have been watching. Did you guys see any of they had a Carolina-Maryland game on from when they were in high school. It was Lynn Bias playing against
Michael.
I
did see that.
Playing against Michael and James Worthy and Sam Perkins and them. Michael would have been the best four-man on that team. He'd have been the best center on that team. He was a freshman. He was just different. He was different. And his bounce. Look, man, if he got 2 feet in the paint, he's dunking that thing. And also, all right, you think about this. For most of us, we got to, if we're going to go in there and dunk on somebody, we got to cock it. We got to cock it because our hands. He jumps and goes here and poof, just, you know, who can do that? Who can do that? That's why I say, all right, think about it. If there's a loose ball in the paint and he's under the goal, he's dunking that shit. LeBron doesn't do that. I mean, he can't just vertical. Q, you could do that. I mean, and D, I know you could, but I'm saying people, it's just, he's different. He was different. And ferocious.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you this, and then I'll let you get on to something else. We beat them my first year in Miami, and I got like 39. They came in our building the year they swept us. They came in our building. They was out all night on South Beach. I know because I was there.
Damn right, I know because I was there.
and so they and we had just made a trade for Tim Hardaway and sending Billy Owens, but none of those guys were available. We were playing them the next night with 8 players: me, Alonzo, Keith Askins. And anyway, they came in and I got hot. I had 39. We beat them the year they went 72-10.
Right.
I've known Michael for, you know, at this point, 15 years, and we're friendly. We're boys. And we played them at our place 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, and the ball was tossed. And as the ball was going up, he went and got me right in the sternum with his elbow. And I went, oh. And I went, shit, it's going to be like that tonight. And it was like that. I think he got 35 and didn't play the fourth. And I got like 13 on 3 for 13 or something like that.
So he shot you the ball at the jump.
At the jump. And look, when I think back about it now, he'd been thinking about that for 2 weeks. After watching the documentary. He'd been thinking about that for 2 weeks. And again, if I got 39, maybe 15 of them were when he was in the vicinity, you know?
Right.
He
still don't like it.
He got me every other time, basically. We beat them the next year in Phoenix, right at the beginning. The last dance year, when they started 0-4, we beat them that year, but we were good. We had me and KJ and Jason and Danny Manning and Stevie. So, yeah. But I love the documentary. It was great. MJ's different. He's different. I love him to death. And I'm proud of him. You saw those interviews from when he was in high school and first in college.
How far he's come, yeah.
No, man, right? We all have to kind of learn to do this. When I was in the 80s, 90s, there were 2 or 3 people in the world that couldn't go anywhere. you had to close down if they wanted to go shopping on, you know, Rodeo Drive or wherever the hell it was. They'd have to shut the store down. Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, maybe Muhammad Ali. I mean, to not only become the greatest basketball player in the world, but to be able to handle everything like he's done. I'm proud of him, man. I'm really proud. Yeah.
That was eye-opening, though, when you saw, like you said, when you saw the clips of those early, you could tell, like, oh, man, I like, because you know, for us, we just see perfection, the GOAT.
Yep.
This is MJ, and it was like to see, like, even he had to weather that storm and learn. And you see, he didn't sound as confident as he does now, and is you know,
right.
as articulate and everything. Like, you seen that he had to grow that, and that was eye-opening.
Yep, it really was. I mean, and you know, it's not easy for anybody. No matter if you look like it is, it's not. Everybody is. We're all nervous, and we all, you know, we're all people. Shit.
You know, I always like to ask when you got to the league and you got that bag. You know, I know Falk got you the bag, so we got the bag. You know, we all did it. Whether it was a car, whatever. What did you do where you said, look? You look back on it like it probably could have been stupid, but when you did it, it was the best feeling in the world.
Okay. Yeah, I'm that guy. So I'm glad you asked. I bought a brand new red 560 SL Mercedes-Benz. And I took off all the chrome, even the rim. I put 5-spoke rims on there. Every bit of the chrome, gold plated.
Trimmed in gold.
Gold. The cashmere little things on the inside over the cover seats, the sheepskin. It was the gaudiest fucking car I've ever had. I was almost embarrassed to drive it. Oh, and a bumping system. I mean,
you gotta
right there.
And it was convertible.
Ooh. Hey, time out. Did you have a mullet then? Did you have a mullet?
I had the mullet.
You had the mullet? Hey, the mullet.
Yeah, I had the mullet, although I like to refer to it as the shag.
Okay, the shag.
What city was you in when you bought it? You was in Miami?
Charlotte. Right out of college.
With the shag flowing, the top down with the shag. Ooh, just a side shot of that.
Chapman chain on.
Oh, and you had the chain? Oh, yes.
No doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
That's all.
You know what I had for a while? You're going to like this. I'm going to send you a picture. When I get off here, remind me to send it to you. I had a gold-plated cap for my tooth. My front tooth. I could pop it on and off. I could pop it on and off.
Oh, that's great. That is awesome.
When I saw Tyler Herro got his hair done the other day, I sent him that picture of me. I got a picture of me. I said, you just do you, man. Do you.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. Well, look, man, we definitely appreciate you for pulling up on us, man, and coming to sit down, man. Rex, you know you one of my all-time favorite people, but you did it big out there on the court, man. Legendary status, and, man, everything you doing post and you doing with the block of charge and with your foundation, man, we really super appreciate and salute that, man. You doing it big.
I appreciate you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm proud of both of you. Look, like I said, life is hard. Life is weird. And, you know, we're in this thing together.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm glad to be in y'all's fraternity.
Yes, sir.